When you slow down like this, when you listen instead of chase, your body responds with honesty. It opens quietly, it trusts gradually, it gives back tenfold. Right now, you're not alone in this moment, even though you're physically by yourself. You are being witnessed. Your breath, your stillness, your unspoken need to be seen without being judged. And for the first time in a long while, nothing is being asked of you. Just stay here. Let your body lead for once. Let sensation exist without explanation. This isn't about desire exploding. It's about desire settling in, rooting itself, claiming space, and realizing you don't need to run from yourself anymore. You're safe here. There are things about you that have never been spoken, not because they're dark, not because they're wrong, but because you didn't know how to say them without sounding needy or weak or exposed. So you swallowed them. You learned to nod, to smile, to say I'm fine in a tone that convinces everyone except yourself. But listen closely now. There's a part of you that has always felt slightly out of place. Even in rooms full of people, even in relationships, even in moments that were supposed to feel complete. You feel it late at night, when the noise fades, when the phone goes quiet, when your body is tired but your mind refuses to shut up. That hollow ache isn't loneliness the way people describe it. It's something sharper. It's the feeling of being unmet, emotionally touched but never fully held, seen but never truly understood. You've wanted someone to look at you and say, I see the parts you don't show. I see the effort it takes just to exist. I see how hard you've been holding yourself together. But instead, you became the strong one, the listener, the reliable presence. You made yourself useful so you won't be abandoned. And somewhere along the way, you stopped asking for what you needed. Right now, as you hear this, something tightens inside you, because this isn't a guess. This is a recognition. Your chest feels heavier, not with sadness, but with truth. Your breath catches slightly, not from fear, but from being named. There's a hunger in you that isn't sexual, but it feels physical. A craving to be chosen without auditioning, to be wanted without earning it, to rest without being replaced. You've fantasized about disappearing, not to die, but to stop being expected. To stop performing adulthood, strength, control. You imagine a moment where you could just fall apart, and instead of losing everything, you'd finally be held. That fantasy has followed you for years, and here's the unsettling part. You're not broken for wanting that. You're human, and your body knows it. That's why your stomach tightens when you hear these words. That's why your shoulders tense, then slowly soften. Because something inside you is whispering, yes, this, finally. You don't need fixing, you don't need motivation. You need permission to feel without immediately explaining yourself. Right now, nothing is being demanded from you. No role, no mask, no productivity. Just presence, just honesty. Just the quiet relief of realizing that the thing you thought was wrong with you is actually the most human part of you have. Stay here, because next we talk about the moment you learn to hide this part of yourself, and once you see it, you can never unsee it. There was a moment, not one you marked on a calendar, not one anyone else remembers, when you learned that being fully yourself cost too much. It didn't happen all at once. It happened in pieces. A sentence that was ignored, a feeling that made someone uncomfortable, a need that was met with silence or irritation or withdrawal. So you adjusted. You told yourself it wasn't a big deal. You told yourself you were asking for too much. You told yourself you could handle it alone. And that's when the disappearing began. not physically, not obviously, internally. You learned to edit your emotions in real time, to soften your reactions, to pre-apologize for existing. You became excellent at reading rooms, at sensing shifts in tone, at knowing when to pull back before someone else did it for you. People called you mature, chill, easy to be around. They didn't see the cost. Because every time you swallowed a feeling, your body remembered. It stored it in your jaw, your neck, your chest. That tightness you carry, that low-grade exhaustion that sleep never fixes, that's not stress. That's grief for the version of you that used to speak freely. You didn't stop feeling, you just stopped showing it. And over time, even when you forgot how much space you were allowed to take, here's the part no one told you. You didn't disappear because you were weak. You disappeared because you were trying to stay connected. Children do this instinctively. So do adults who still care deeply. You learned that love came with conditions, that closeness required containment, that honesty needed permission. So you made yourself smaller, not because you wanted to, but because you thought that's how people stay. And now, years later, you feel it. That strange sense of living near your life instead of inside it. That feeling of being present but not fully inhabiting yourself. You wonder why joy feels muted, why excitement fades quickly, why even good moments feel like they're happening through glass. It's because part of you is still hiding, not from danger, from disappointment, from the risk of being too much again. But listen carefully now. The part of you that learned to disappear is the same part that knows how to return. You haven't lost yourself. You paused yourself, and pauses can end. Right now, as you sit with this, something subtle is happening. Your breathing is slower. Your body is listening because it recognizes a truth it's been holding quietly for a long time. You don't need to vanish to be loved anymore. You just haven't been shown another way yet. That comes next. Even when you convinced yourself you were fine, your body kept the receipts. It remembered the nights you lay awake replaying conversations, the mornings you woke up already tired, the way your shoulders stayed lifted like you were bracing for impact that never quite came. You told yourself it was just life, work, responsibilities, adulthood, but your body knew better. Because the body doesn't speak in words, it speaks in tension, in shallow breaths, in that hollow ache that shows up when things finally get quiet. Have you noticed how silence makes you uneasy? How you reach for noise, your phone, a show, anything the moment you're alone with yourself? That's not boredom. That's your nervous system finally asking for attention. Your body learned over time that it wasn't safe to fully relax, not because danger was everywhere, but because emotional whiplash was unpredictable. So it stayed alert, always scanning, always preparing, always one step ahead of disappointment. That's why rest feels unproductive, why stillness feels suspicious, why peace feels unfamiliar instead of comforting. Your body adapted brilliantly. It learned to hold everything together when no one else did. It became the container for emotions that never found a place to land. Anger you weren't allowed to express, sadness you were told to get over, needs you learned to downplay. Where do you think all of that went? Into your chest, your gut, your breath. That heaviness you feel sometimes out of nowhere isn't random, it's unprocessed truth. And here's the part most people miss. Your body isn't broken. It's loyal. It stayed tense so you could survive. It stayed vigilant so you won't be caught off guard. It stayed tight because loosening up once hurt too much. So when you criticize yourself for being anxious, for overthinking, for not being able to just relax, you're blaming the very thing that kept you going. What if instead of fighting your body, you listen to it? What if that tightness wasn't an enemy, but a message that finally wants to be heard? Right now, if you check in gently, you might notice something subtle. A shallow breath that wants to deepen, a jaw that doesn't need to clench anymore, that's tired of carrying weight alone. You don't have to fix anything. Not yet. Awareness is enough to begin, because the body releases when it feels safe, not when it's forced. And safety doesn't come from control, it comes from permission. Permission to feel without rushing, permission to rest without earning it, permission to exist without being on guard. You're not asking your body to forget the past, you're showing it the present is different, slowly, quietly, honestly, and when the body starts to believe that, everything else follows. Have you noticed how much of your life has been spent shrinking? Not physically, though maybe you've hunched your shoulders, tucked your chin, or made yourself small so you won't be noticed. I'm talking about the invisible shrink, the mental crouch, the quiet apologies for existing in your own body. You've learned to stay out of the way, to let others go first, to dim your presence so it won't rock the boat, to keep your voice soft so it won't upset anyone. But let me tell you a secret. The world only notices what you let it notice, and hiding, as noble as it feels, comes at a cost. Your body remembers the way you curled inward. Your mind remembers every time you swallowed your words. Your heart remembers the quiet ache of being unseen. And here's the tricky part. You've internalized that shrinking is safety, but safety isn't alive, it's a cage. So now, slowly, we're going to explore what it means to take up space again. It starts small, a longer breath, a hand on your hip, a voice that lingers instead of disappearing. Notice the pause when you enter a room. Notice the energy that wants to claim the space around you. Notice how scary it feels. That fear is the proof you're doing it right. Your body will protest at first. Your mind will remind you of all the reasons you should shrink. Your heart will whisper that you're not allowed, but you are. You've survived shrinking for too long. You've survived being the quiet observer while life passed by. And now the same body that once cowered can carry presence. Strength, magnetism, confidence, not arrogance, but undeniable existence. Start noticing the small victories, the nod from a stranger that isn't ignored, the laughter that finds your lips without hesitation, the cheer you claim in a crowded cafe without apologizing. Every act of taking up space is a rebellion against the invisible rules that have held you captive. Every inch you reclaim, every breath you expand is a message to yourself. I exist. I matter. I am allowed to be here. And eventually, the fear fades, not completely because it always tests us, but enough that you can move freely, enough that your body stops bracing at every sound, enough that your heart realizes it can stretch without breaking. Today, take one step, a literal step forward, or a metaphorical one. Open your chest, look someone in the eye, speak a truth you've hidden. Feel your body responding, muscle by muscle, breath by breath, as if it's waking up from a long, forced slumber. And as it does, know this. Taking up space isn't selfish. It's the first act of claiming yourself after years of being told you couldn't. You know that quiet voice inside you, the one that keeps you up at night, whispering truths you're too scared to say out loud? It's been there all along, nudging you, reminding you that your instincts, your desires, your needs, they're valid. For too long, you've let your brain dictate the terms, logic, fear, obligation, shame. All of it has been steering your life while your heart quietly watched, aching, wanting, and waiting. But the heart doesn't lie. It doesn't bend to deadliness or expectations. It doesn't calculate risk or probabilities. It feels. And now, for the first time in a long time, you're learning to let it decide first. It starts with permission again, permission to want what you truly want, permission to crave connection, closeness, or even comfort, permission to honor the fire that's always burned quietly inside you. Your heart has a rhythm all its own, and it's time you to listen to it. You might feel guilt, like you're betraying the careful logic that's kept you safe. You might feel fear because your heart is untamed, unpredictable, and raw. You might feel shame because it's not practical to follow desire. But here's the truth. The world doesn't remember the practical. It remembers the alive, the bold, the people who dared to follow their own pulse even when it scared them. So start small. Follow a whim that excites you. Say the words you have held back. Touch someone tenderly, not for them, but for yourself. Notice how your body responds. A quickened heartbeat, a shiver down your spine, a flush across your skin. Those are the signs that your heart is taking the wheel. Those are the proof that life still runs through you, untamed, unashamed. And when you follow it, truly follow it, the world begins to bend around you. Not because the world changes, but because you do. Your presence becomes magnetic, your energy undeniable, your life full, rich, and unapologetically yours. This is your invitation to trust yourself, to act even when fear is loud, to let your heart chart the course, and watch how it transforms every interaction, every relationship, every moment of your life. The heart first doesn't mean reckless. It means alive, it means awake, it means finally free. Now lean in closer because this is where it all converges, where every pulse, every whisper, every hidden desire you've held finally surfaces. You can feel it, can't you? The energy humming beneath your skin, the tension in your chest, the quiet hunger that never really felt. All those moments when you felt unseen, unheard, or unworthy, they were never about being bad or wrong. They were the universe's way of preparing you for this, the moment when you step fully into yourself. Imagine it. You standing in the glow of your own presence. Your senses sharp, your skin alive to touch and sensation, your mind clear yet tantalized, your body awake to subtle electric currents of life. Every glance, every heartbeat, every thought pulses with your own truth. You feel your desires not as a shame but as guidance. You feel your needs not as weakness but as power. You feel your connection to the world not as dependency but as resonance. Close your eyes for a moment. Feel it. A warmth spreading from the center of your chest. A stirring, a thrill, a deep, unspoken acknowledgement. You're allowed. You are permitted. You are enough. Notice how your body responds, the subtle twitch of excitement, the steady rise of anticipation, the tension that unravels only when you give yourself permission to feel. And now, hear this truth whispered into your own soul. You're not alone. You have never been alone. Even in your loneliest moments, your body remembered what joy felt like. Even in your darkest hours, your heart whispered what longing really craved. This is the awakening, the moment when all the layers fall away and you confront your own life fully, raw, electric, unfiltered. From this point on, every choice you make is conscious, every touch you feel is acknowledged, every glance you give or receive is alive with understanding. You are no longer moving through life in half measures. You're not hiding behind walls of fear or habit. You're awake, alive, and in total possession of your senses. And the beauty? This is not the end. It is the beginning of every moment, lived fully, every connection experienced deeply, every desired, honored unapologetically. So let the world watch, let it notice, because you have finally awakened. You are whole, you are alive, you are unstoppable. This is your story now, the story that moves through every fiber of your being, that whispers into every quiet corner, that leaves no room for anything less than complete, undeniable presence. And when you breathe, feel it, the pulse of life surging through you, the awakening of everything you've ever held back, the liberation that only comes when you finally accept, embrace, and follow yourself. Welcome to your fully alive existence. The world may never be the same, and neither will you. I didn't go into the mountains looking for a story that matters, because the people who do go looking, who hunt legends instead of listening to them, are usually the ones who come back empty or not at all. I was there for work, simple, forgettable work, the kind that keeps you moving so you don't notice how quiet the world has become. Northern Rockies, late fall, the season where the land hasn't decided where it wants to sleep or stay angry. The locals called the area closed, but not officially. No fences, no signs, just the way people spoke when they mentioned it. Shorter sentences, lowered voices, eyes drifting somewhere else, the kind of closed. I noticed the footprints on the second morning. They were outside the cabin where I stepped out with a cup of burnt coffee, the steam cutting briefly through the cold air. Fresh snow had fallen overnight, thin, clean, honest. It records everything. The prints started at the tree line, big, deep, bare at the first glance. The weight alone told that story, each step pressed down hard enough to crack the forest beneath the snow. I followed them with my eyes, not moving yet, letting instinct decide whether this was curiosity or warning. Then I saw the change. Halfway across the clearing, the prints shifted. The front impressions shortened, the heel narrowed, the toes, God. The toes pulled inward, as if whatever was walking decided, mid-step, to remember a different way of standing. Bear tracks don't hesitate. These did. They continued toward the cabin, closer than I liked, close enough that I could see where snow had been dragged slightly to the side, like balance had briefly been an issue. The final set stopped 10 feet from my door. No exit tracks. I stood there longer than I should have, the coffee cooling in my hand, the quiet pressing in around me. Forest quiet isn't silence, it's restraint, like everything is holding still on purpose. I told myself what everyone tells themselves first: old tracks, wind distortion, snow settling. But the snow hadn't touched the edges yet, and the trees hadn't moved all night. I knew that because I'm a light sleeper, and the wind makes a sound when it argues with pine. Inside, I checked the time. 5:12 a.m. Too early for people, too late for animals to still be wandering without purpose. I radioed the ranger station, static, tried again. Nothing but a faint hum, like something breathing on the other end and deciding not to speak. By the time the sun finally reached the clearing, the tracks were already softening, losing their definition. Snow does that. It erases first, asks questions later. But something else bothered me. The smell. It wasn't rot. It wasn't animal. It was warm, like wet fur and iron and old leaves pressed together. A smell that suggested proximity, recent, intentional. That afternoon, I drove down to the nearest settlement. One store, one gas pump, one man behind the counter who looked like he'd been measuring time in winters instead of years. I didn't mention the tracks at first. I asked about beers. His jaw tightened, not dramatically, practiced. They're mostly asleep now. I nodded. These weren't. That's when he looked at me. Really looked. "You see feet?" he asked. I didn't answer fast enough. He turned the sign on the door from open to closed even though it was barely noon. "Listen," he said, voice low, not unkind. "If you're staying up there, don't follow anything that walks away on two legs and comes back on four." I asked him what he meant. He shook his head once. "Doesn't matter. They don't like being named." I laughed because that's what people do when their instincts are screaming and their pride wants control. He didn't laugh back. "Bears walk," he said quietly. "Men walk. Some things remember both." That night, I locked the cabin door. It didn't help. Sometime after midnight, I heard the steps again. Slow, deliberate, circling. Heavy weight shifting wrong. Nails scraping wood, then stopping. Like whatever it was had realized the sound it was making. Then became the breathing. Not snuffling, measured, controlled. Right outside the wall where my head rested. And underneath it, beneath the animal depth, there was something else, a rhythm, almost human, almost thinking. I didn't sleep after that, because deep down I understood the rule too late. When the forest sends something wearing a bear's body to check on you, it's already decided you belong to the story. Morning didn't arrive so much as it leaked into the clearing. The kind of light that doesn't warm anything, just reveals what you were hoping wouldn't still be there. The tracks were gone, not covered, gone. The snow around the cabin looked untouched, smooth in a way that felt wrong after what I'd heard all night. No sign of circling, no drag marks, no proof that anything heavy had been there at all. Except for the door. 3 shallow grooves ran vertically along the wood, just to the right of the handle, not deep enough to be a threat, deep enough to be deliberate, a message, not an attempt. I packed early. I told myself it was logistics, not fear. That the radio silence and the weather window made staying risky. Lies have a way of sounding professional if you dress them right. As I loaded the truck, I noticed something else, something small. Pine needles, pressed into the snow near the driver's side door, bent, broken, fresh, as if someone or something had stood there long enough to shift weight, waiting for me to come out. I didn't linger. The road down the mountain twisted through thicker timber, the trees close enough that the sky disappeared in places. I drove slow, windows cracked despite the cold, listening. That's when I heard it, not behind me, beside me, footsteps matching my speed, not running, not chasing, keeping pace. I glanced right, then left. Nothing but trees sliding past in a blur of gray and green, but the sound stayed steady, crunch, crunch, crunch. Too rhythmic to be wind, too heavy to be deer. I accelerated. So did it. The steps didn't get louder, they didn't rush, they adjusted. Like whatever was out there didn't need to hurry. I hit a straight stretch and pushed harder. Gravel kicked up behind the tires. The steps faded, not falling behind, just stepping away, choosing not to follow anymore. The settlement came into view like a relief I didn't fully trust. Smoke from chimneys, a dog tied outside the store, normal things pretending to mean safety. Inside, the same man was there, same posture, same eyes. He didn't ask why I was back. "You heard it walk," he said instead. I hesitated. "I heard something." He nodded once. "Then you're already ahead of most." I asked him carefully what lived up there. He leaned his forearms on the counter. "Depends who you ask. Some say there are people who forgot the rules. Some say there are bears who learned them too well." I waited. He continued. "Long ago, hunters learned to wear bear skins to borrow strength, warmth, power. But the land doesn't lend without collective interest. Some men stayed in the skin too long, some wanted to. What happens then? I asked. He looked past me, through the window, toward the tree line. They don't turn into bears, he said. They remember being men at the wrong moments. The bell on the door rang as someone else entered. Conversation stopped immediately, not awkward, trained. An older woman passed me on her way to the counter. She smelled faintly of smoke and herbs. As she brushed past, her hand caught my sleeve. "Did it speak yet?" she whispered. My throat tightened. "No." Her grip tightened with it. "Good. Then you still have time." "Time for what?" She met my eyes. Hers were sharp, alert, not old in the way people expect. "To leave," she said, "or to learn when not to answer." That afternoon, I left the settlement with supplies I didn't remember buying and advice no one wanted to explain twice. Don't whistle at night. Don't follow sounds that call your name. And if you hear something heavy walking upright, never let it know you noticed. I told myself I'd drive straight out, down to the mountain, back to roads with numbers and cell towers in distance. But as dusk approached, the weather turned. Snow thickened, visibility dropped, the road narrowed into something less certain. The GPS lost signal, then direction, then confidence. By the time the truck skidded to a stop, blocked by a fallen tree, I was back in the forest. Back where the quiet waits. I shut off the engine. That's when I realized something important. The forest wasn't silent because nothing was there. It was silent because something was listening. And somewhere nearby, something heavy shifted its weight, not to approach, but to stand up. I stayed in the truck longer than I should have. Engine off, lights dark, hands resting on the wheel like they still belonged to someone who thought control mattered. The snow thickened, snowflakes tapping the windshield with a patience that felt deliberate. That sound, the shift of weight. I waited for it to come again. It didn't. That was worse. Silence in the deep woods isn't neutral. It's an agreement. Wind, insects, distant creaks, all of it should have been there. Instead, the forest felt held, like breath pulled in and not released. I stepped out anyway. Cold hit fast, sharp enough to sting the lungs. I grabbed the axe from my behind the seat, more comfort than weapon, and checked the fallen tree. Too thick to move alone, too heavy to pretend effort would matter. That's when I noticed the smell, not rot, not animal musk, smoke, old smoke, the kind that sinks into fur and skin and doesn't fully leave. A scent you associate with clothes worn too long by a fire, not with something wild. It came from deeper in the trees. It didn't follow. I've learned sometimes too late that instinct doesn't always scream. Sometimes it just refuses to move your feet. My body looked in place, muscles tight, eyes scanning. That's when I saw it, not clearly. Something large stood between the trees, just far enough that depth and shadow could still argue about its shape. At first glance, it was a bear, broad shoulders, heavy torso, dark mass against darker woods. Then it shifted. Bears don't shift like that. It didn't drop to all fours. It didn't advance. It simply adjusted, straightened, as if remembering a posture it had been using in a while. The head turned. I couldn't see the face, but I knew it was looking at me. Not at the truck, not at the axe, at me. I stayed still. The old man's voice came back to me then, uninvited and unwelcome. Never let it know you noticed. So I didn't run. I didn't raise the axe. I didn't even step back. I did the hardest thing instead. I looked past it, as if it were just another tree, another shadow, another lie the forest tells before itself at night. The shape remained motionless for a long time. Snow gathered along its shoulders without melting. It didn't breathe the way animals do. No visible rise or fall, just presence. Then, slowly, it did something I wasn't prepared for. It leaned forward, not threatening, not curious, intimate, close enough now that I could see the outline of fur hanging unevenly, as if it were worn rather than grown. One arm, too long, wrong at the joint, hung slightly forward, and then came the sound, a breath, drawn in through teeth that didn't quite fit in the mouth they were in. I felt it then, that sense of being assessed, not as prey, not as enemy, as something being remembered. The smell of smoke thickened. Behind it, further back in the trees, something else moved, then another, subtle, careful, shapes shifting without fully revealing themselves. I wasn't alone with one. I was being observed by several. That's when it happened, the night that broke my control. It spoke, not aloud, inside my head, not words, not a voice, a pressure, a suggestion, an image of warmth, of shared fire, of standing tall and unafraid while the cold bowed away from you. Strength without effort, belonging without question. I understood then why men chose this, why they stayed, why the old stories weren't warnings so much as regrets. My knees weakened just slightly. The shape noticed. Its head tilted just a fraction. That was enough. I took one step back. The forest responded instantly. Branches cracked. Snow dropped from above. Movement surged, not toward me, but around me. Encirclement without haste. The beer walker stepped aside, not to let me flee, to make room. And from the dark between the trees, something else approached, smaller, faster, carrying that same smoke and far scent. A lesson, maybe, or a test. I tightened my grip on the axe, knowing, finally, that weapons weren't what decided who walked away from places like this. It was whether the forest believed you still remembered how to be human, and I wasn't sure it did anymore. The second shape didn't rush me. That was the first thing I understood. It moved the way someone moves when they already know the outcome. No hunger, no urgency, just confidence born of familiarity with this place and with me. It stepped into a thin break in the trees, enough moonlight slipping through the cloud or cover to sketch its outline. Smaller than the first, narrower, still wrong. Its back was hunched, but not like an animal's, like someone trying to shrink themselves to fit back into a body that no longer suited them. The fur it wore, because that's what it was, worn, hung unevenly, stitched in places with something darker than thread. I could see skin beneath it, human skin, pale, scarred, etched with marks that weren't decorative but deliberate, lines carved again and again until they became part of the flesh. It stopped 10 feet away, close enough that I could see its chest move, close enough that I could smell old blood beneath the smoke. The taller one, the first, stayed back, watching. The smaller one tilted its head and made a sound that caught in my spine. A word, my name, not spoken cleanly, bent, flattened, as if chewed in return. I didn't answer. I remembered the rule, but silence was vague. And sometimes it invites response instead of preventing it. It stepped closer, still, soft, it said. Voice layered, one tone human, another beneath it, deeper and slower, like something speaking through a drum of bone. I felt my breath hitch. I forced it steady. "You don't belong here," it continued, and for a moment it almost sounded like concern. "This isn't a place for forgetting." "I am leaving," I said. The moment the words left my mouth, I knew I'd made a mistake. Both shapes reacted, not aggressively, not excited, interested. The first, taller, heavier, shifted its stance. Snow compressed beneath its feet with a heavy sound, too heavy for something that thin. The smaller one smiled. It shouldn't have been able to. The mouth was wrong, too wide, too many teeth pressing against lips that had forgotten how to close properly. "Leaving," it repeated. "That's what they always say." I felt something, then, a tightening around my chest, like invisible hands testing whether my ribs might give. The air itself seemed thicker, resistant. "You can't leave," it said gently, "not after being seen." Behind it, something cracked, wood splitting under pressure. Another shape moved closer, still unseen, but present enough to announce itself through sound alone. I understood then that the forest wasn't just hosting them, it was participating. Every tree, every shadow, every pocket of dark had adjusted its attention toward me. The woods weren't a backdrop anymore, they were part of the conversation. I backed toward the truck without turning, eyes never leaving the smaller beer walker. "You still walk like a man," it said. "That means you still feel the cold." It took another step. I raised the axe, not to threaten, but to anchor myself in something solid, something real. The taller one finally spoke. Just one word. "Enough." The sound rolled outward, not loud but heavy, as if the forest itself had lowered its voice in response. The smaller one froze. Its smile faded. I didn't understand why. Not yet. The tall beer walker approached then, stopping beside the smaller one, up close. It was worse, its height unnatural, joints slightly misaligned, fur pulled tight over a frame that had grown past the size it was meant to hold. It looked down at me. "You were warned," it said, voice low and slow, like deep water moving under ice, "and you listened." "I didn't do anything," I said. It considered that. Listening is something. The pressure in the air eased slightly. I could breathe again. The tall one turned its head over the forest, and in response, the surrounding movement stilled. Whatever had been closing in stopped where it was. A boundary had been drawn. "For now," it said, "you will sleep. You will dream, and in the morning you will choose." "Choose what?" It leaned closer, and for the first time I saw its eyes. Human, exhausted, full of something that looked dangerously like regret. "To remember who you are," it said, "or to learn what it's like to never be cold again." The smaller one snarled quietly, displeased. The tall one ignored it. "Do not run," it added. "Do not call for help, and whatever you hear tonight," it paused, "do not answer." With that, it stepped back. The smaller one retreated reluctantly, melting into the trees like a bad thought you can't quite get rid of. The forest exhaled. Sound returned. Wind distant, creaks, the illusion of normal. I stood there shaking, axe slipping from numb fingers. I didn't remember getting back into the truck, but when I closed my eyes that night, sleep came fast and heavy, and in my dreams, I stood barefoot in snow that didn't burn, wrapped in warmth that wasn't mine, watching men walk upright into the trees and never walk back out. I didn't wake up. I arrived. That's the only way I can explain it. One moment there was darkness, heavy, complete, and the next I was standing in the forest, barefoot, snow pressing against my skin without pain. I could feel it clearly, the texture, the cold, the way it should have burned, but it didn't. My breath fogged the air, slow and steady, strong, too strong. The trees around me weren't the same ones from before, older, thicker. Their trunks bore marks, deep gouges and symbols cut into bark that had healed around them, swallowing the shapes but never erasing them. This was not a memory, it was a place. I moved without resistance. Muscles obeyed without hesitation. No stiffness, no fear. Every step felt right. Ahead, firelight flickered. Not a campfire, a circle of fires, evenly spaced, casting long shadows that twisted across the snow like living things. Figures stood between them, men and women wrapped in fur, faces half hidden, bodies broad and powerful. Some walked on two legs, some didn't bother. As I stepped closer, one of them turned. I knew him instantly, not by face, by weight, by presence, the tall beer walker. But here he looked different, whole. His fur was still there, but it fit him, not worn, not stitched, grown into place like a second truth layered over the first. "You see now," he said. His voice didn't echo. It settled. "What is this?" I asked. "Remembering," he replied. "For you, for us." Others turned toward me. Faces emerged from shadow. Human faces, scarred and aged, but calm, peaceful. Not monsters, hunters, warriors, people who had once lived by the rules older than fear. They came to us starving, the tall one continued, cold, broken. The forest gave them strength, but strength has shape, and shape demands commitment. I watched as one man stepped into the firelight and pulled a bearskin over his shoulders. The fur fused, not violently, but deliberately. Bones shifted, spine straightened. The change was slow, reverent. He didn't scream, he exhaled. Another followed, then another. Some hesitated, some cried. One turned away at the last moment. The forest responded instantly. The fires dimmed around him. The snow beneath his feet darkened. He aged before my eyes, shoulders slumping, breath ragged, hands trembling. Cold returned. He fell. No one helped him. "He chose," the tall one said quietly. I felt a pressure in my chest, not pain, but longing. The warmth in my limbs deepened, spread. I looked down and saw my own hands. They were changing, subtle at first, fingers thickening, nails darkening, strength pooling beneath skin like something waking up. I stepped back. I didn't agree to this. The tall one's expression softened. "Neither did we," he said, at first. The circle tightened slightly, not threatening, inviting. "Look at yourself," another voice said. I turned. A reflection stood between two fires. Me, as I was, and me as I was becoming. Taller, broader, wrapped in fur that carried the scent of smoke and time. I felt the appeal then. No hunger, no doubt, no fear of dying alone. Belonging, purpose, the end of being small. "You could walk forever," the tall one said. "Never fear winter, never fear death the way men do." "What do you lose?" I asked. The fires crackled. The answer came from anywhere at once. Names. I woke up gasping. The cab of the truck was freezing. My breath came in sharp bursts. My hands ached, skin raw and red from cold, but the ache faded too quickly. I noticed then that my clothes were warm, dry, and around my wrists, Pressed faintly into the skin were dark marks, like bruises shaped almost like fur. Outside, dawn was breaking, and somewhere in the trees, something heavy shifted its weight, not approaching, waiting. I didn't wait for full daylight. The dream of it had been a dream. It left something behind, not just marks on my skin, but a sense of alignment, like my body had been adjusted slightly out of center and now wanted to return where it fit best. That scared me more than the beer walkers ever could. I started the truck on the second try. The engine coughed, complained, then settled into a low, steady rumble. Too loud, too confident. I half expected the forest to object. It didn't. Snow had eased during the night. The fallen trees still blocked the road, but I noticed something I hadn't before. The bark was split cleanly down the middle. Fresh, no storm damage. Cleared. Not by tools. I backed up slowly, heart pounding, then turned the wheel and eased around it. The truck passed through without resistance, as if the forest had decided the barrier was no longer necessary. I didn't feel relieved. I felt permitted. The drive down was quiet, no footsteps, no pacing, just the road and the sound of tires over gravel. But I kept catching myself listening for something else, not behind me, but within. My senses felt sharpened. I noticed the way light broke through branches, the distant movement of animals I couldn't see, the subtle differences in terrain long before the road announced them. This wasn't adrenaline, it was familiarity. By the time I reached the settlement, the sun was high. Smoke rose from chimneys. People moved about their routines like nothing had ever been wrong. But they saw me. Every one of them did. Conversations paused. A child stopped mid-step, staring openly. An old man lowered his cup without drinking. The woman from before, the one who had grabbed my sleeve, was waiting outside the store. "You stayed the night," she said. It wasn't a question. "I didn't mean to," I replied. She nodded slowly. "That's how it starts." Inside, the man behind the counter took one look at me and stiffened. "You dreaming yet?" he asked. I hesitated. "Too long." He exhaled sharply. "Damn." They didn't ask for details. Didn't need them. "You were offered," the woman said. "That means you were mayored." "By what?" She glanced towards the tree line. "By something older than stories." I told them about the dream, the fires, the choice, the warmth. I didn't mention the relief. That part felt dangerous. When I finished, the man leaned back, rubbing his face. "They don't hunt everyone," he said. "Only the ones who can carry it." "Carry what?" "The remembering," he replied. "The part of us that knows how to live in the wild without shrinking." "That's not remembering," I said. "That's losing." He shook his head. "That's what people say from the outside." The woman watched me carefully. "Did they give you a rule?" "Yes." Her jaw tightened. "Then you're already closer than you should be." She stepped forward and pressed something into my hand, a small bundle wrapped in cloth. It smelled like cedar and ash. "If you hear them again," she said, "this will help you stay yourself." I looked down at it. "How?" "It reminds you of the cost," she said simply. I wanted to ask what that cost was, but the question felt like another step closer to something I wasn't sure I wanted to understand. I left the settlement an hour later, supplies loaded, head full of weight I hadn't arrived with. The road felt different now, smaller, less significant. The forest on either side no longer looked like an obstacle. It looked like an invitation. That's when the radio crackled, not static, a voice, low, familiar. You don't have to pretend anymore. I slammed the radio off. Silence rushed back in, but it didn't bring relief because the voice hadn't come from the speakers. It had come from inside my head, and it sounded like mine. I didn't sleep that night, not because I was afraid of what might come from the trees, but because I was afraid of what might come from me. I parked miles from the settlement, off a service road that barely deserved the name. The forest there was thinner, younger, as if it hadn't yet learned how to keep secrets. I told myself that mattered. It didn't. The moment I shut off the engine, the quiet settled in again, not the listening quiet from before. This was closer, intimate, the kind that presses against your skull and waits. I sat there gripping the steering wheel long after the ticking of the engine stopped, cataloging every thought, every sensation, trying to identify which one still belongs to me. That's when I noticed the hunger, not the sharp kind, not the kind that makes your stomach roll, a pull toward warmth, toward movement, toward the dark where effort didn't exist. I forced myself to eat. The food tasted dull, wrong, like fuel meant for someone else. I chewed anyway because eating felt like proof. Night fell slowly, too slowly. At some point, I couldn't say when I became aware of footsteps again. Not circling, approaching. I didn't reach for the axe this time. I reached for the bundle the woman had given me. The cloth was warm to the touch, despite the cold air. I unwrapped it carefully. Inside was a small carved figure, wood-worn smooth by hands over generations. A man, half wrapped in bear fur, his face twisted not in rage but sorrow. I held it tight. The footsteps stopped just outside the edge of the light cast by my headlights. A shape resolved itself from the dark, not the tall one, not the small one. This one was wrong in a different way. Its fur was newer, cleaner, less settled. It stood awkwardly upright, swaying slightly, like someone unused to the weight of what they'd become. Its eyes caught the light, bright, too bright. "You hear us now," it said. The voice was unstable, slipping between tones, as if two mouths were trying to speak through one throat. "I hear everything," I replied before I could stop myself. The words tasted strange. The beer walker smiled. "That's the gift," it said. "It doesn't turn off." It stepped closer and I saw the seams in the fur, raw skin beneath, still healing. This one hadn't been here long. "Does it hurt?" I asked. It laughed, a sound like bark snapping in the fire. "Only when you remember you're not supposed to like it." The hunger surged then, stronger, sharper. My fingers tightened around the carving until the edges bit into my palm. The beer walker's eyes flicked down. "You carry a reminder," it said. "That means they're afraid of you choosing freely." "I already chose," I said. It tilted its head. "You choose delay." It leaned in, lowering its voice. "Every step you take away from us pulls you back harder. You feel it, don't you? The cold doesn't bite like it should. The dark doesn't frighten you anymore." I wanted to deny it, but lying felt like another betrayal. "What happens if I say yes?" I asked. The beer walker's smile widened. "Then you stop being lonely," it said. Behind it, deeper in the trees, I sensed movement, others responding to the conversation, adjusting their attention. I pressed the carving to my chest. "What happens if I say no?" The beer walker's expression faltered, just for a second. "Then the remembering hurts," it said quietly. "Every winter, every night you dream of standing taller, and one day," it took a step back, "you say yes anyway." The forest shifted. Snow slid from branches. Shadows leaned closer. I realized then that this wasn't a threat. It was a promise. I raised my voice, not shouting, but firm. Leave. The beer walker studied me for a long moment. Then it nodded. For now, it said. It stepped backward into the dark, its shape dissolving too easily into the trees. The hunger receded, but it didn't disappear. It settled, like something patient. I sat there shaking, carving clenched in my hand, knowing something I hadn't before. The beer walkers didn't need to chase, they just had to wait for winter. Morning came closely, not like it usually does. The sun didn't just rise, it crawled over the horizon, a sickly amber that filtered through the bare branches like cautious fingers. I wanted to think it was a normal sunrise, but the world didn't feel normal, not anymore. The snow that had softened overnight now glistened sharply, reflecting light in a way that burned the eyes. Every footprint I had left the night before was gone, not melted, not filled in, vanished, like the forest had swallowed them, erasing any trace that I had been there. The truck felt heavier when I climbed in, not from cold, not from sleep deprivation, from presence. Whatever had come to me the night before didn't leave with the dark. It lingered in the marrow of the trees, in the forest clinging to my windshield, in the hollow spaces between my ribs. I drove slowly. Every bend in the road, every shadow between trunks made my hands tighten on the wheel. I wanted to look away. I needed to. But my eyes were drawn forward. Halfway to the main road, I heard it again. Not a sound, a rhythm. Footsteps, heartbeat, the faint cracking of snow beneath something enormous moving with purpose. I couldn't tell. I stopped the truck, engine idling, tried to breathe normally, tried to convince myself it was the wind, a deer, some trick of the pine needles. Nothing helped. Then I saw them. Far off, beyond the ridge, two figures moved, not walking, sliding almost, limbs bending at impossible angles, bodies so wide they should have crushed the snow beneath them, yet they didn't. Their heads were low, searching. Their shoulders were massive, fur covering the top halves of their bodies like armor, but their eyes, oh God, their eyes were human. They weren't hunting me, not yet, but they were aware, they were measuring, and in that instant I felt it, the weight of what they were, the pull they exerted, a hunger, not of flesh, not of blood, a hunger for acknowledgement, for the living to see what had become to them, to recognize that we had forgotten the rules that had kept us separate. The bundle from the woman pressed against my chest, its cedar scent sharp, reassuring. I touched the figure inside it without thinking, letting my fingers trace the carved face of a man in bear fur. The wood seemed to thrum, a faint vibration against my skin, syncing with the movement in the distance. I realized then that the carvings weren't just reminders, they were anchors, a tether to sanity, to self. Without them, the forest would reach inside and claim pieces of me I wouldn't even know were missing. The figures paused, stood fully upright, their heads swiveled, searching, and I swear I saw one of them tilt its head as if studying me, recognizing me, not like a predator recognizing prey, not like a creature knowing a trespasser, like a mirror studying its own reflection, distorted but familiar. I started driving again, slowly, eyes forward, mind racing, trying to calculate how far away I could put myself before the pull became unbearable, before they decided I was ready. The road narrowed, Fog rolled in low and fast, ghosting across the trees. The cold cut through every layer of clothing I had. My hands were white, trembling, yet I couldn't stop gripping the wheel, couldn't look away from the mist creeping along the forest floor. And then I understood something worse than fear. The forest didn't want to let me go. I reached for the radio, static, then faintly, a whisper, almost lost beneath the white noise. You belong. You know it. The words weren't coming from the speakers. I knew it immediately. They were threading through my thoughts, tugging, beckoning, subtle yet insistent. I slammed the radio off. Silence, almost comforting, but not fully. Not when the weight of unseen eyes pressed against my back, front, sides, everywhere. I drove, and as I drove, I felt myself changing, not in ways you notice at first, small, almost imperceptible shifts in posture, in muscle memory. But a presence was growing inside me, waiting, patient, knowing I would have to face it again. I wasn't just being hunted, I was being measured, and every mile forward, every turn of the wheel reminded me the beer walkers don't forget, they don't tire, and they will wait forever. The fog didn't lift when I reached the outskirts of town. It thickened, curled low around buildings like something alive, something patient. The road signs were still there, but the words felt wrong, too clean, too confident, like lies printed in metal. I parked outside the general store, engine off. Silence settled hard and heavy, pressing against my ears until I realized how loud the forest had been before. Here, there were no birds, no dogs, no distant engines, just stillness so complete it made my teeth ache. I sat there longer than I should have, hands still on the wheel, bundle still pressed against my chest beneath my coat. The cedar smell hadn't faded, it had deepened, warm and sharp like it was being freshly cut again and again. When I finally stepped out, the cold hit differently, not biting, claiming. The bell above the store door rang once when I pushed it open. The sound echoed longer than it should have, stretching thin, almost warping. Inside, the lights hummed weakly. Shelves were stocked, but nothing felt touched, like the place existed for appearances only. Behind the counter stood the old man. I hadn't noticed him at first. He was so still I mistook him for part of the background. His hair was white, long, tied back with a strip of leather. His eyes were dark and alert in a way that made my skin crawl. He looked at me, then at the bundle, and then he nodded. You saw them, he said, not asking. My throat locked. I hadn't said a word. They didn't come close, I managed, but they were there. They always are, he replied. People just forget how to notice. I set the bundle on the counter without meaning to. The moment it touched the wood, the lights flickered. The hum of the freezer in the back stuttered, then steadied again. The old man's expression tightened, not fear, but respect. You shouldn't have that, he said softly. She gave it to me. His eyes lifted, sharp now. Then you're already marked. The word hit harder than anything else had so far. Marked, like a brand burned into something living. I asked him what the beer walkers were, not myths, not warnings, what they were. He leaned back, folding his hands. There are men who learned too much from the beer, or beers who learned too much from men. Depends on who you ask. He paused. The problem isn't the change, it's the forgetting. They forget where the line is, and once that happens, the forest doesn't push back. I told him about the eyes, the way they watched without hunger, without rage. That's the worst part, he said. If they wanted to kill you, this would be simpler. He reached under the counter and pulled out something wrapped in cloth. When he unfolded it, my stomach turned. A claw, massive, dark, the tip worn smooth, like it had been carried and handled for years. They'll leave pieces behind sometimes, he said, not by accident. I asked him why they hadn't come for me yet. His gaze lingered on my hands, on the way my shoulders sat too square, too heavy. They're waiting to see if you walk back on your own. That's when I noticed it, my reflection in the glass of the freezer door. At first glance, it was normal, but when I looked closer, my posture was wrong. My neck sat forward, my weight rested differently on my feet, like I was bracing for claws that weren't there. The old man followed my gaze. It starts like that. Small things. You stand longer. You sleep lighter. You feel stronger but slower at the same time. I asked him how to stop it. He shook his head once. You don't stop it. You decide who you're changing for. The bell rang again. I turned. No one was there. The door hadn't opened. The fog outside pressed tight against the glass, swirling in shapes that made my chest tighten. They're close, the old man said. Not here, but listening. I grabbed the bundle, pulling it back against me. I felt heavier now, not physically, responsibly. What happens if I don't go back? I asked. His voice dropped. Then they'll come to you, and when they do, they won't ask. I stepped outside. The fog wrapped around me instantly, thick and damp. As I walked to the truck, I felt it again, that pull, not from the forest this time, but from inside. Something in me wanted to turn around, not in fear, in recognition. I sat behind the wheel, heart pounding slow and deep, and as I started the engine, a thought surfaced fully formed, not mine, but veering my voice. You already know the way back. The road ahead disappeared into white. The road behind me felt closer, and for the first time since this began, I wasn't sure which direction scared me more. I drove without headlights. I didn't decide to. I just realized, 10 minutes down the road, that the dark didn't bother me anymore. The fog thinned in front of the truck as if it knew where I was going, peeling back just enough to show the curve of the road before it arrived. That showed that should have terrified me. Instead, it felt efficient. The forest pressed closer on both sides. Trees leaned inward, branches arcing overhead like ribs. Every few miles, I caught movement just beyond the tree line, too smooth to be deer, too heavy to be men. They paced me without effort. I could feel them now, not with eyes, with something lower, deeper. The bundle against my chest pulsed faintly with warmth, like a second heart. Each time my grip tightened, my hands felt stronger than I remembered. Veins standing out, fingers stiff, joints aching in a way that felt earned, not injured. I flexed my hands once at a red light that never changed. The knuckles cracked loud enough to echo inside the cab. I laughed. The sound startled me. It wasn't fear, it wasn't relief. It was something closer to recognition, like laughing at an old memory you don't fully trust yet. When I finally stopped the truck, it was because the road ended. No sign, no barricade, just forest swallowing asphalt like it had been bathing. I stepped out, and the night wrapped around me instantly. Cold, yes, but layered with smells I couldn't place at first. Damp earth, pine resin, rot, blood, faint but old. I knew exactly where I was. I hadn't been here in years, not since I was a child. The clearing waited ahead, just as it always had, wide, quiet, scarred by old fire pits and stones arranged too carefully to be natural. This was where the elders used to gather, where stories were told without metaphors, where children weren't allowed to stay long. My feet carried me forward before my mind caught up. Each step felt heavier, more grounded, like the earth recognized my weight now. Halfway across the clearing, I realized something else had changed. I could hear everything: the crawl of insects beneath bark, the slow breath of the forest itself, the distant movement of something large circling wide. I wasn't being hunted, I was being measured. At the far end of the clearing stood the stones, tall, weathered, one of them marked with deep gouges that no animal could have made by accident. I reached out without thinking and pressed my palm to it. The stone was warm. Images came fast, then too fast. Hands pressed into fur, bones breaking cleave, deliberate, running on four limbs without losing balance, standing again, taller, heavier, wrong and right at the same time. I staggered back, breath tearing out of me in clouds. My chest burned, my spine ached like something was trying to stretch from the inside. From the tree line, a shape stepped forward, then another, then another. They didn't hide anymore. There was no need. They stood upright at first, tall, broad, wrapped in shadow. But as they moved closer, the illusion peeled away. Their legs bent wrong, their shoulders rolled forward, faces blurred between man and bear, never settling long enough to recognize. The nearest one stopped just beyond arm's reach. Its eyes met mine, no rage, no hunger, only expectation. The bundle in my arms stirred. I looked down, heart hammering, and froze. The cloth had shifted. For the first time, I saw what lay inside. Not an object, a piece of me I didn't remember losing. The beer walker tilted its head, nostrils flaring. I smelled myself then. Not sweat, not fear, but something older, something shared. You came back, it said. The voice wasn't spoken. It moved through bone and memory instead of air. I didn't mean to, I answered, and the truth of that felt irrelevant the moment it left me. It took another step closer. I didn't retreat. None of us do, it replied, but you carried the weight. You kept the line longer than most. The others circled slowly, heavy steps sinking into the earth. The clearing felt smaller with each breath I took. What happens now? I asked. The beer walker smiled, not with teeth, but with posture, with certainty. Now, it said, you decide whether you're prey to the change or proof that it was worth surviving. Behind it, the forest leaned in, and somewhere deep inside my chest, something ancient shifted its stance. Ready. They didn't rush me. That was the first thing that broke my expectations. Every fear response I had prepared for, every instinct that screamed, run, fight, beg, had nowhere to go. The beer walkers remained still, arranged in a loose circle, their presence heavy but controlled, like elders waiting for a younger one to finish speaking. The nearest one lowered itself, not fully to all fours, not fully standing, somewhere in between, balanced. You think the choice is whether you become us, it said. Its voice was closer now, not louder, closer, as if it were speaking from just behind my eyes. I swallowed. My throat felt tight, thick, like my body was bracing for something I had rehearsed long ago. Isn't it? I asked. A low sound rippled through the clearing, not laughter, not mockery, something closer to disappointment. No, it replied. That part already happened. The words landed wrong, too heavy, too final. I looked down again at the bundle in my arms. My hands were shaking now, not with fear, but with strain. Holding it hurt, not physically. Remembering hurt. I don't remember choosing anything, I said. That's mercy, another voice answered from behind me. I turned too fast. One of them stood there where nothing had been a moment earlier. Taller, older. The fur around its shoulders was silvered, matted with scars that didn't look accidental. This one carried history like a smell. Memory fades so the body can function, it continued. If you remembered the first change clearly, you would never survive the second. The second, my voice cracked. The oldest beer walker stepped into the fire-scarred center of the clearing. The ground beneath it seemed to dip slightly under its weight. You were marked when you were small, it said. Not bitten, not taken, recognized. Images stirred again. Me as a child, standing at the edge of this same clearing, hands tugging me back, voices hissing warnings I didn't understand, a shadow moving wrong among the trees. You wandered where you weren't meant to, it went on, and instead of killing you, we waited, watched. You grew without knowing why the forest never fully rejected you. My pulse thundered in my ears. That's not possible, I said, weakly. The first beer walker took another step closer. I could see its eyes clearly now. Deep, set, dark, reflective, not animal eyes, but human ones either. You heal faster than you should, it said. You hear things before they happen. You've always known when you were being followed. Each sentence landed like a quiet accusation. And now, it added, you carried a burden that was never meant to be carried alone. The bundle shifted again. I felt it then. Felt it. Something inside my chest pulling toward it, like a joint sliding back into place. My spine burned. My shoulders felt narrow suddenly, too fragile. What is it? I whispered. The oldest beer walker answered without hesitation. You're restrained. The word echoed. You think beer walkers are monsters, it said. That we lose ourselves, that the animal takes over. It shook its head slowly. No, the danger is the opposite. It gestured toward the bundle. That is the part of you that remembers being human without effort. The part that doubts, hesitates, questions hunger. Cold ran through me. You separated it, I said. You survived by separating it, the beer walker corrected. Long enough to live a life, long enough to love, long enough to return willingly. The forest creaked around us. Branches swayed through there was no wind. And now, I asked. The circle tightened, not threatening, but inevitable. Now you choose whether to carry it forever, the first beer walker said, or return it and stand whole. My breath came shallow. I looked down at the bundle again. It felt heavier than before, alive in a way that made my skin crawl. If I give it back, I said, what happens to me? The oldest beer walker met my gaze. You stop pretending the forest doesn't recognize you, it said. You stop resisting what comes when the mood pulls wrong, and you accept that survival has a shape. I felt something shift inside me again, deeper this time, not pain, alignment. And if I don't, I asked. The silence that followed was different, taut, respectful. Then you walk away, it said, human enough to pass, broken enough to feel it forever. The clearing seemed to hold its breath. I realized that no one was forcing me. They never had. The choice wasn't about becoming a beer walker. It was about whether I would keep pretending I hadn't already paid the price. I tightened my grip on the bundle, and something inside me rolled, not in anger, in readiness. I didn't announce my decision. That surprised me most of all. There was no speech, no declaration, no dramatic moment where I said yes or no. I simply felt the answer settle into my bones the way cold settles into a river, quiet, irreversible, shaping everything that flows afterward. My arms loosened. The bundle slipped from my hands without resistance. It didn't fall, it unfolded. What I had been holding wasn't cloth or fur or flesh in the way I understood those things. It stretched, thinned, separated into shapes that looked like breath trying to remember a body. For a moment, I saw pieces of myself in it. My reflection in dark glass, a childhood laugh, the hesitation before every hard choice I'd ever made. Then the forest inhaled. The bundle dissolved into the air, drawn toward the beer walkers as if the night itself were reclaiming something borrowed. The ground pulsed once beneath my feet, deep and slow, like a massive heart correcting its rhythm. I gasped, not because I was in pain, because something that had always been missing had just returned. My spine straightened on its own. My shoulders rolled back with a strength I didn't consciously summon. I could feel the weight of my body differently now, balanced, grounded, anchored. Sounds sharpened, distance collapsed. I knew where every tree stood without looking. I knew where the creek bent. I knew which direction the wind would turn before it did. I looked at my hands. They were still hands, but they felt temporary. The oldest beer walker stepped forward one final time. Its massive form cast a shadow that merged with mine, impossible to tell where one ended and the other began. "You will not stay," it said. "That is not your role." I nodded. I already understood. "What happens now?" I asked. "You walk," it replied, "and when the forest needs to be remembered, you will remember it for us." The circle opened, not like a path, but like permission. As I stepped through, the woods rearranged themselves. Trees leaned back, underbrush parted. Every step felt pre-approved, guided by instincts I didn't yet have language for. Behind me, the beer walkers receded, not retreating, simply ceasing to be necessary. Their presence folded back into the night as naturally as breath leaving a body. By the time I reached the edge of the clearing, there was nothing behind me but trees, normal trees. That's the lie people believe, that the end of an encounter looks like nothing happened, but something had. I could feel it in the way the forest no longer watched me. It acknowledged me. I didn't run. I didn't rush. I walked until the ground softened, until the smell of damp earth gave way to leaf, mold, and pine. Dawn found me on a trail I didn't remember entering, my clothes torn, my muscles aching in a way that suggested effort I couldn't recall. When I reached my truck, the hood was cold. Hours had passed, days maybe. I drove without turning on the radio. Every reflection in the windshield looked wrong, not frightening, just incomplete, like a mask that fit too well. People sometimes ask me now why I avoid deep forests, why I don't camp, why I lock my doors during full moons even in the city. I tell them I've seen bears stand where people shouldn't. I tell them some traditions don't die, they wait. But I never tell them the most important part, that sometimes, late at night, when the world is quiet enough, I feel it again, that pull, that alignment, not a hunger, a summons. And I know, with a certainty deeper than fear, that if I ever answer it fully, I won't be lost. I'll be exactly where I belong, and something else will walk out of the forest instead.